The SEC Player of the Year is coming from the Oklahoma Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. We're free and available wherever you download and listen to your podcast. So go hit that subscribe button over there. He's Jay Smith of Unfair Sports. You can check out his channel over on YouTube, Unfair Sports. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. And my name is John Williams. I forgot to mention that. On today's show, we're going to talk through a chaos scenario from Josh Pate and what it might mean for the Oklahoma Sooners. Also, what's the biggest position battle heading into fall camp as it's set to get kicked off on July 30? But, Jay, let's start with this. We got some bold predictions. I don't even know if they're trying to be bold, but it came off as real bold. This one's from Chris During of SEC Network. He said, I think this guy, meaning John Mateer, is going to be the SEC Player of the Year, and I also think he's going to win the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, we're going too far. Going a little too hard on the Beaver with that one. I like the enthusiasm that Chris has given when it comes to Mateer. You know, we've been gassing him up this entire time. We've got fall camp coming up. And so we're now at the point where we're in content season. We're in hot take season. We're going to say crazy-ish season. And I do need us to pump the brakes on it. I am as excited about Mateer as anybody else. You're not going to hear me proclaim that he's going to win the Heisman, even though I did go on FanDuel and wager a little something on him winning the Heisman. We're not going to talk about that part. What we do want to talk about is people are starting to see and realize that regardless of the conference he's coming from, the numbers that he put up and the way he was able to do it and the weapons that we see that's around him, John, he does have a chance of being something special, being part of the Oklahoma Sooner storyline. And the Kool-Aid's being drank. People are getting in the water. I think it's time for everybody else to do it now, right?
It's just like when we talked about when Matt Hayes of USA Today Sports predicted Oklahoma to win the SEC. I'm like, listen, I'm optimistic. I feel good about this team. I ain't going there yet. I like John Mateer. I think he's a good quarterback. I'm not ready to proclaim him a Heisman Trophy winner. And maybe that's me hedging. Maybe that's me just not feeling confident enough. I don't know. But you got to go win games. You know, Jaden Daniels, they went 9-3 and he won the Heisman.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a little bit of a precedent there, but John Mateer would have to put up a monster year. He'd have to replicate what he did last year and maybe a little bit more. And Oklahoma would have to go 9-3. I don't know if he's going to replicate what he did last year. And as much as I think Oklahoma's going to flirt with 9-10 wins, they got to have a lot go right for him to get there.
Is it far-fetched to think that he can't replicate what he did last year? I mean, I understand the hesitation there, John, and rightfully so. Cautious optimism to me is the safest route to take when it comes to preparing for this season because, it's been a turbulent last 3 years, but is it really that far-fetched to say that he can put up what he did last year?
I think a little bit. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and say he can't do it. I just don't think anybody should sit there and expect him to do it. Here are your passing leaders from the SEC last year. If I can pull them up real quick, I'm going to try. You had... Dang it. My stats are not working. Stats are not statting. Here we go. Jackson Dart threw for 4,000 yards last year. Okay. The number of quarterbacks that threw for over 3,000, you had 5 of them. Taylon Green, Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck, Garrett Nussmeier, Jackson Dart. He could potentially throw for over 3,000 yards. Is he going to rush for another 9, 10, 100 yards? I don't know that. Is he going to have 44 total touchdowns? I don't know, man. That's tough. And with a guy like Jaden Ott in the backfield, John Mateer is not going to have to do it all. Where he had to do a lot of it all last year.
And I'm going to be honest, the more and more I evaluate the season, so I decided to have some fun. I hopped on College Football 26, ran a nice little set of plays with Jaden Ott. I put one of them on the socials. Go check it out. Follow at Unfair Sports on the X Bird. And so I posted the video of it, and it's literally him. I've done this in every game I've played. The first play from scrimmage when I played Michigan, Nebraska, Oklahoma State, and I played FCS West. First play from scrimmage, I hand him the ball. He goes up the middle. He breaks 2 tackles, and he's gone. He's one of the most fun players to play on that video game. It's pretty ridiculous. And everybody I pointed this to, they're like, yeah, dog, he's fun to play with. So in that case, there's a very good chance that game 1, you're not going to see much from John Mateer. I actually expect this offensive line to open up holes big enough to where Jay Knott goes out there, bold take. I think he gets like 200 yards rushing in the first half in that game just because he breaks off multiple deep runs. So you're right. It's going to be tough for Mateer to be able to get his numbers with a Jaden Ott dominating in the run game, but that's not, to me, very far-fetched that, John Mateer can add to that, because when you look at it last season, as you talked about the stats, only 5 quarterbacks got over 3,000 yards passing. Jalen Milroe was number 6. He's very close at 2,800 passing. But Milroe was also very much a run-heavy quarterback as well. But I don't think that it's too far to believe that John Mateer can still throw for 3,000 yards, especially with the high-octane offense that we're most likely going to have. I think it's possible. I think Ben Arbuckle is going to set him up to do that.
I'm not saying it's impossible.
No, you're fair.
Going to sit here and not predict John Mateer to go win the Heisman, because Oklahoma's got a bit of an uphill battle. And as much as I like to think that the schedule is not as difficult as the computers want to make it out to be, Oklahoma still has to go win games. They've got to go 9-3, 10-2 for him to be in that conversation. And if you're sitting here at the end of October, you're going into November, and you're 7-1 with 4 games left to go, then I will very gladly put John Mateer right at the top of the Heisman race if he's having a good year. If he's a big reason why Oklahoma's sitting at 7-1, then yeah, let's talk about it. But right now, this whole team to me still has a lot to prove. And even though I'm optimistic, you got to go win games. And the only way you're going to get Heisman buzz, the only way you're going to get Maxwell Award buzz isn't because of what you do in the preseason, what you've done before. It's what you do in that year. And so he's going to have to go and prove that he's one of the best players in the country week in and week out. There are no off weeks. And you got to go beat Texas, and you got to put up big numbers when you do it.
I'm bullish on it. I think he can. I mean, looking at this, Jalen Milroe ran for 700 yards while throwing for the 2,800 yards. And so it's 3,500 yards total offense. I think Mateer's built to do that. I get that people think that the translation from where he's coming from to here is going to be so much tougher than people expect. Diego Pavia literally just did it. Right? We've seen this blueprint happen with numerous quarterbacks where it can be done. The question is going to be his confidence. And the other thing to point that out as far as translation goes, the one thing we do know that Brent Venables does when it comes to his practice is he'll take it easy on his quarterbacks. And I'm here to tell you, Mateer threw some interceptions in practice. But guess what he did the next play, John? He got up, slanged it right there again on that next play, and he got the best of the defense. This is from a player telling me about how he practices, and their excitement about him is that, yeah, we may get him once, but he's going to get us 2 or 3 more times afterwards. Then we'll win a battle. He'll get us one time, and it's just a whole bunch of back and forth, which is a lot more competition in comparison to what we saw last year. I know that because we talked about this a couple episodes ago. Cole Kubick was a little concerned at the fact that Hugh Freeze says that they went completely vanilla and took it easy on Jackson Arnold in order to get him his confidence. That's not a good thing. You should never have a situation where you have to take it easy on your quarterback. Your quarterback should be able to be forged in fire and get better. I think John Mateer's done that. He's going against one of the best defenses in the SEC. I don't care what nobody say. Argue with your mom on that one because it's been proven statistically. And this is Brent Venables' best team since he's been there. John, real quick, did you know the last time Oklahoma had a 3-year run like he did this time, what happened in that 4th year?
They were a top 10 defense. And
they won a national championship.
There you go.
Shout out to Bill Conley. We'll talk about the SP Plus stuff later, but he says this literally in his quote. The last time Oklahoma had a 3-year record this bad, The Sooners won the national championship the following season. They jolted from their late 90s slide to get 13-0 in 2000 with a trendy offense and a speedy, aggressive defense. Guess what? BV was the DC on that team. He is now the head coach and DC of this team. The defense is speedy and aggressive. The offense is trendy and new. Not saying we're winning a natty.
No, you're saying
that
they're winning a natty.
there's a path.
Yeah.
There's a path to 9 and 10 wins with no problem.
They just got to go do it, man. And a lot of it's going to come down to what happens up front and at wide receiver, where there are question marks.
There are questions.
He's going to have some help. Quarterback can't go win a Heisman by himself. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Tim Tebow didn't win a Heisman by himself. Joe Burrow didn't win a Heisman by himself. Baker and Kyler didn't win a Heisman by.
There's questions about if Tebow did it by himself. He'll tell you he did.
Tim Tebow would tell you that he won it by himself.
Yeah, he'll tell you that he did. No, you're right. He didn't. I mean, the only one I think won the Heisman by themselves was Cam Newton.
Yes. Yeah.
That's probably the last one I could say did that.
Yeah.
Which that'd be a fun conversation.
I mean, listen, is John Mateer Cam Newton coming up next? No, just kidding. We're going to talk the biggest position battles for the Oklahoma Sooners in fall camp coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavors of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you can just need a little extra boost to stay sharp and energized. I remember during the pandemic, I would take a 5-Hour Energy with me, and I took my son to go play, and he went out there, and I was so charged up from the fact that he hit a hole-in-one that I almost punched the kid. It was hilarious. But at the same time, we saw some cool stuff happen on the golf course together because it was the only time we could really get outside and be away from people. 5-Hour Energy kept your boy going. So golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. Of course, the grape, ginger, lime flavors gives you the best part of your clubhouse to go to without chasing down the bev cart. So if you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF. Receive 20% off your order. This promo is only valid until September 30th on one order. It cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes to 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order Transfusion 5-Hour Energy shots today.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jay, what is the biggest position battle facing the Oklahoma Sooners in fall camp?
I was listening to the Oklahoma breakdown, and a name that came up this past week with Gabe and Teddy, and a name that I heard going into the summer, and a name that I heard going into spring ball that we're going to hear a heck of a lot more about, John. Taylor Wine, the kid from Brentwood, Tennessee, the edge that was kind of an accidental find. He was basically a quote-unquote replacement for Colton Vasek, who flipped his commitment from Oklahoma to Texas after the Red River Shootout. Decided to stay home and be a legacy there. We haven't seen him yet, but Taylor Wine was one that surprised the coaching staff. I think they went there to look at a wide receiver and somehow saw him and was like, hey, who's this kid? Well, he's up to 275, and supposedly he's been stacking nonstop good days, John. So if there's a position I'm looking at for real, it's going to be that other edge spot right there next to our Mason Thomas, because we want to see Danny Okoye. He is the most athletic player on the team. Everybody says it. PJ Adebaware, the 5-star, has bulked up, got stronger, and he sounds like he's healthy. Then you got Taylor Wine, who's just coming out of nowhere on that side, who could be your Ethan Downs on steroids. Bruh, we got a lot of good competition out there, but I think that edge is going to be the most intriguing one for fall camp.
Well, that doesn't even include Marvin Jones Jr.
At all.
A guy that had 5 sacks last year for Florida State. So that is going to be a really intriguing defensive end battle. R. Mason Thomas, when asked who's the defensive end that's going to break out this year, didn't hesitate. He said Taylor Wine.
Yep.
So he even put a number on it. He said, it would not surprise me to look up at some point in the season and see Taylor Wine with 5 sacks.
Yep.
So that the expectations that R. Mason Thomas has because of the work that Taylor Wine's done this offseason.
High praise, man. A lot of high praise has gone his direction over the last couple of weeks. Everybody's raving about how talented he is and how good they think he's going to be. And so, John, to me, that's the position battle I'm very intrigued to see who ends up coming up on top and how that rotation goes. Because you've got enough veterans with Marvin Jones Jr. and R. Mason Thomas, your two veterans, but the rest are young. And we know that after this season, the expectation is all Okoye, PJ, and Wine really being your three dudes because R. Mason and Marvin Jones will be gone. But man, to have that type of look, I want to know how that's going to work out because it'll be similar to like the Trace Ford year. You had Trace Ford, you had Caden Woolard, Ethan Downs, and all that rotations. I'm really intrigued to see how this turns out.
Well, somebody needs to step up because you are going to lose R. Mason Thomas and you're going to lose Marvin Jones to the NFL next year. So you're going to have to replace that pass rush. So we need to find out who that's going to be now. 2025, somebody has to start showing out, breaking out, and it needs to be one of those guys. It doesn't have to be a 5-sack season. I mean, obviously that would be better than not. But if somebody comes out and they have 3 sacks, they post 6 tackles for loss, they play, 300 snaps, you can start projecting out what they might do with 400 or 500 snaps. You got to get them into the rotation. They've got to start contributing because you're going to need them next year. Otherwise, you're going to have to go into the portal and you're going to have to look for a bona fide edge to come in and replace R. Mason Thomas.
Yep.
There's so many intriguing spots here, Jay, that I feel like we could go. Cornerback feels like one that I'm not sure what to make of it just yet. And some of it's going to depend on where Gentry Williams and Eli Bowen are in fall camp. What's their health status? Are they able to stay on the field? Are they able to practice regularly? Are they being held out more as precautionary versus they're dinged up again and we got to see what they're going to be capable of? Wide receiver is another one that I'm looking at that I don't know what to make of it beyond Deion Burks right now. Outside of him, it's a bunch of question marks because Jaden Gibson's coming back. He's working his way back. Giovanni Gibson is working his way back. And then you have a bunch of guys that could contribute. But the one I'm going to go with here, Jay, I'm going to go with the tight end spot. And I know I've sat here and said that tight end doesn't matter. But I'm curious to see, are they going to go with the Will Huggins, who is maybe a little bit more of a blocker? Are they going to look to get a little bit more athletic in the passing game with Carson Kent or Jaron Kanik? How does that one transpire?
Yeah, that's going to be intriguing as well if you would go into the offensive side because
I know I cheated and I picked like 4 different position battles, but
yeah, I think the tight end one's probably the one that's probably got your attention the most. It's gotten a lot of people's attention. We don't know who that player is that's going to break out, and so we're going to go ahead and give a hot take here real quick. I think the player that's going to end up breaking out, John, I think it's going to be Jaron Kanik. I think Kanik's going to be that athleticism he had watching him in his film when he was in high school. I think he's going to take that film and he's going to lose his ever-loving mind out there, and we're going to see some good stuff from him there. So give me Kanik. I think that's going to be the one.
My bold take on it, Caden Helms. That's another guy like a Taylor Wine that's received a lot of buzz, both from the coaching staff, from people getting sourced information. They've talked about how Caden Helms is healthier than he's ever been at Oklahoma. He's looking as good as he's ever looked. And we know he's got the athleticism. We know he's got the size. Can I see 250 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns for a guy like Caden Helms? If he gets significant playing time, yeah. I think you get him out there on the field, you get him into the pass concepts, and he's going to create problems in the passing game for opposing defenses. What's another like under the radar position battle that you're looking at?
I think another under the radar one that we're really just we're not talking as much of, but seems like it's going to be one of those fun ones, is going to be the D tackle spot. Jaden Jackson started last year as a true freshman, so there's a lot of hype there. We know David Stone is going to take a leap. That's the expectation there. Nigel Smith is put on weight, so he's ready to get out there. Grayson Halton is considered an NFL draft player. Dominic Williams is trying to get back into draft status. You've got a good 6 guys there with, Trent Wilson as well as Marcus Strong that all can compete for some time on the field from either 0 to 3 technique or even 4i. I'm very intrigued to see who are the 2 that starts and the 2 that rotates right behind them, because you're going to play. You're not going to want your D lineman to play over 300 snaps if you can avoid it. You want them to get out there, be effective, and then get off the field, especially as run stuffers and pass rushers. I'm curious to see who that 4-man rotation initially becomes.
Yeah, because you're going to play 4 guys at least, and if somebody's good enough, they're going to have 5 guys break into that rotation. But I think you're going to see the 4 that we've talked about the most, but it wouldn't surprise me to see a guy like Trent Wilson earn some playing time. I think they'll probably try to redshirt him, but you'll see him in some of these non-conference matchups because it's a great opportunity to get him some playing time. The under the radar one, center, Troy Everett seems to be everybody's kind of ho-hum pick at center, the guy that's solid and steady. But there's also been some buzz that Jake Michael could come in and challenge for that starting center spot. If he doesn't get it this year, I think that's okay. You still have him ready to in the wings for 2026 to be your starting center next year. So it's going to be intriguing to see how that offensive line comes together, because again, Troy Everett's been a leader in that room all offseason, dating back to last season, being a part of that Alabama win. He's got the cachet with a lot of those guys in the room. Jake Michael would have to be like significantly better for them to, I think, remove Troy Everett from that starting spot, given the relationships that he's got with those guys on the offensive line, the good camaraderie that he's helped build. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see how that one plays out. But again, you could see like left guard being a battle this offseason, or in fall camp, you could see left tackle if Michael Fasusi continues to push, or if Jacob Sexton, Jake Taylor get banged up a little bit, you could see Michael Fasusi maybe try to make some waves over there, or Logan Howland. So again, it's intriguing because there are still some unknowns, and you have a lot of potential options that you could play at different spots.
Yeah, the list is long on the potential out there. So it's going to be fun hearing the reports coming out of fall camp. Cannot wait till Wednesday when they post-practice interviews. It's going to be some intriguing stuff to hear.
Yep. All right, we're going to talk through some chaos scenarios coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. Thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jay, talk to the people about what a chaos scenario is.
So our guy, Josh Pate, the host of the Josh Pate College Football Show, earlier this, well, kind of midsummer here in July, early July, late June-ish, was talking about scenarios that would be chaotic for college football if they actually came to fruition. And he was asking him what would be the craziest thing that could happen in college football. And a lot of people, of course, submitted some things, John. And this was the one that intrigued me. We chit-chatted and joked about it, but there's 2 parts to this scenario, in my personal opinion. And so I want to get your thoughts on this one. First and foremost, one chaos scenario is this. Oklahoma start the season off 5-0 going into Red River, and Texas comes into there 3-2. First off, how likely do you think that could happen in a scale of 1 to 10? And if that should happen, if that was to come to fruition, what do you think Red River's outcome would be?
If Oklahoma goes in 5-0 and Texas is 3-2, I'll put that one at a solid 7. Because I could see Oklahoma winning out or winning their first 5, going into Red River undefeated, where I'm a little bit, and I feel pretty confident about that, actually. I feel confident that Oklahoma is going to go 5-0 to start the season and go into Red River. It's going to be what happens at Red River and beyond over those final 7 games that are going to tell the story of Oklahoma's season. For Texas, they've got Ohio State week 1. They play Florida in that stretch as well on the road in Gainesville, and they play up in the shoe at Ohio State. Those are two potentially losable games for the Longhorns. I don't think they lose both. I think at worst, they're probably 4-1 going into Red River, but there's a really good chance I think both of them are 5-0. And then we have all kinds of potential chaos setting up inside the Red River Showdown with two undefeated teams.
Whew, that would be bananas if that happened. And now let's go to the second scenario that could happen with that, John. Texas could end up in that scenario. Now, Texas fans ain't gonna like to hear that they could end up going into 3-2 is a possibility. Lagway's situation right now sounds like he's in a boot, has a potential calf situation, so he's gonna miss the first week of camp possibly. So that makes that Florida situation a lot less likely. But hear me out on this one. If it does end out that way, Texas has a path. They play it right to where they would go undefeated for the rest of the year, which means they would finish season 10-2, but only 7-1 in conference. They finished 7-1 in conference, John. It sends them right to the SEC championship game. Could this be a repeat of the Kyler Murray years at Oklahoma, where the Sooners potentially lose to Texas in the Red River, but see them again in the SEC championship game? How likely do you think that is on a scale of 1 to 10? And what will be the outcome if they did play a second time?
Oh my gosh. Probably I'd put that scenario at like a 3.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm not saying it's impossible. I just don't think it's very likely to happen that both teams end up in Atlanta for the SEC championship. My top two teams, I think I had Georgia and maybe LSU were my two top teams going to Atlanta. Coming out of SEC Media Days. So I think it's possible that one of the two make it. Texas has a little bit easier path to the SEC title game than Oklahoma does. But man, it would be crazy if that were to happen. There's so much about this season I feel like that could go 100 different ways. It feels like a really wide open SEC, aside from, Texas being a really, really good defensive team and kind of having to go out there and prove it offensively, similar to Oklahoma. And then you have schools like LSU that are probably going to be really, really good offensively, but are going to have to prove it defensively. There's just not one team going into the year that is absolutely dominant.
There really isn't.
There's not.
And a few people have talked about this, even Bill Connolly over there at ESPN. We'll talk about this tomorrow on tomorrow's episode more in depth, but he's pointing out that the SEC is wide open this year. So I see it, but they'll be so fascinating to see if Oklahoma can find a way to help add to all the chaosness that's going to happen here in the SEC. It's not going to be a bloodbath type year that we're used to, because when you really look at everything, having, what's that, 4 total quarterbacks who are returning starters. This guy has extended play. I don't really consider Lagway much of a returning starter, quote unquote, because, he was out for a lot of the season with injuries and he's still dealing with those. But Pavia's back. Nussmeier is back, right? You got Lenore Sellers who's back. And everybody else in the conference kind of shifted some quarterbacks around. That would be very, that would make things a lot more interesting going forward.
I mean, there's potential that you get to the SEC title game and you have a couple of teams with 2 losses.
Oh, I've calculated 4 so far, and that is wild to me.
And so then you're running into the potential chaos of the SEC runner-up getting left out if they get that 3rd loss. Like, what does the College Football Playoff Committee do then if you've got a bunch of tiebreakers that led to the 2 teams that represent in the SEC title game, because it is a bloodbath this year, because there's no one dominant team, because there's no team without question marks. And what if you end up with 4 or 5 10-2 teams?
Yeah.
What does the playoff committee do then?
As I went through all of it, there's really only one way for Oklahoma to make it into the SEC championship game. They can only lose only one game all conference. If they lose more than one conference game, it's statistically based impossible for them to make it. Unless it's like really weird losses, in which is another chaos scenario I want to talk about, but we won't talk about on this episode. We'll talk about that on tomorrow's episode.
Yeah.
Because I've got more chaos scenarios that when I started digging and playing around with this predictor, my goodness, it would be wild if this came to fruition against Oklahoma.
2025 could be a mess for the SEC, or it could be great. Either way, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Football season's almost here. We'll have you covered every single day here on Locked On Sooners. So make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you get your podcasts, and over on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. We will be doing post-game shows all season long, live here on the Locked On Sooners channel. Jay will be there for some of them, but not all of them. But we will have a show shortly after the game goes final to react instantly with you on the YouTube channel live. So again, make sure you subscribe to the show. That way you're notified whenever we start to go live. You can jump right in the chat and tell us all your feelings about Oklahoma. This Friday, we want you to let us know, or before this Friday, because we're going to talk fan feelings, how you're feeling about Oklahoma football going into fall camp and into the 2025 season. Let us know in the YouTube chat. I'll drop a little post over there, and you can respond with your feelings about Oklahoma football going into 2025. We'll do that throughout the season as well. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. You can follow me at John9Williams. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer
Sooner. So much chaos is going to happen in the SEC this year. I don't think y'all understand. It's going to be chaotic.
Yep. Everybody's going to be real mad.